Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm here with Jeannie Bruins. She's a LDA. Now, what's an LDA? A legal document assistant. So, Jeannie, why don't you start us off by telling us what is an LDA? What do you do?
Well, thank you, Laurel, and thank you for having me on your show today. A legal document assistant is a legal professional that can work directly with the public to do all the document work, court filings that an attorney can do. But we are not attorneys, so we cannot give legal advice. And for my clients that do have a court case, they must represent themselves in the courtroom with a judge. I am a person who does legal documents for self-represented litigants.
Okay. And then
And
what kind of education do you have to do that kind of thing?
you can either go to a paralegal school because we grew out of the paralegal industry. I was a paralegal before I became an LDA, or you can have a minimum of 2 years experience working directly under the supervision of an attorney. And so I got my education in the law office. I worked for a very good attorney back in the early 90s who taught me what I know today. And then worked independently for a number of years with attorneys, and then worked again for another law firm when the law changed, which gave me the ability 25 years ago with this change in the Business and Professions Code to work directly with the public without having to involve the services of an attorney.
Okay. And if you need to, you do know a lot of attorneys that you can get people advice when they need that kind of legal advice.
Absolutely. I maintain a good working relationship with the attorney I worked for until the end of 2007. I have other attorneys that I can refer to because I know my limitations. You know, when something gets messy, it's time to haul in the big dogs, so to speak.
But if it's a simple thing, you can help, right?
Yes. And because I have over 30 years experience, I've seen a lot. And
Great.
So the advantage of working with a legal document assistant as opposed to an attorney for just straight document work, and I do probates as well, so there's courtroom filings involved, is we are more affordable.
Great. So let's start off by what is an estate plan and why is it important?
Okay, thank you for that. So an estate plan is basically the process of putting your affairs in order so that in the event of your incapacity or at the time of your death, you're able to pass your assets on smoothly to your heirs without involving courtrooms and most of the time without involving attorneys. And so the reason it's important is it puts your plan in place. It allows you the peace of mind to go on living life, knowing you've taken care of an important piece of business, and it sets things up for your heirs so that things can transfer smoothly.
Right. So they don't have to go to court, right? And go through the probate process.
So what I do in the legal document assistance can work in any area of the law. I can find myself to estate planning, probate, and trust administration. That's where my expertise is, and those are the types of that's the type of work I really enjoy doing. Other LDAs, colleagues of mine, do family law, unlawful detainers, bankruptcies, you name it. They do the gamut, civil cases. But I really strictly stay within my wheel room, if you will, because this is what I know and this is what I love.
Okay. And in terms of the estate plan, how can you help them?
Well, when a client is referred to me, and my work is all referral work at this point in my career, I'll have a phone call with them and determine what they are looking at and ask them some questions. And then if we decide to work together, then I have an agreement that I must use that's developed by the Department of Consumer Affairs. They oversee us like the Bar Association oversees lawyers. So we are, and I should mention too, we are all bonded. We all must be bonded every 2 years, re-registered with the county where we are domiciled, and then complete a minimum of 15 units of continuing legal education. So we have to stay abreast of the law, and then we can work anywhere in the state. So the process is to fill out a worksheet, giving me the information I need. The only document I really need is the grant deed to any property they own. So I don't have to have bank statements and all that other stuff. And then we move forward from there. I do a draft set of documents for them. I get their approval. We do the final, and then I set up the signing appointment. And I am a notary, so I can notarize my own documents.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's convenient.
Yeah.
So what is the difference? But you said a couple things: wills and trusts. What's the difference of that, and why would we need to have those?
You kind of froze on me there. Here you go. There you are. So the difference between a will and a trust. Well, that's a really good question, and a lot of people are confused by that. A will is merely a document that tells the probate judge in the probate court what you want done with your assets when you die. It does not avoid probate, and that's the misconception a lot of people have. A living trust does avoid probate, and that's the advantage of it, because when you pass away, your trust lives on until the assets are distributed to your heirs, and there is a process, but it's much quicker, much easier. It's private. So probate is a public process that determines what your assets are, who's going to get them, and it's also an expensive process, and it takes at least a year to get through probate, and the beneficiaries are the last in line.
Right. It takes a long time to get everything out of there.
Well, partly, or mainly, basically, because the court calendar is so full. In many counties, I can't even get a court date for 5 months. So if I file my petition today, 5 months from now, my client can go to court to be approved as the administrator or the executor of the estate. So the process with or without a will is identical. The only difference is that without a will, the state of California has a will for you. And it's called a statutory will. And it's logical. You know, they look for kids. If there's no kids, they go to parents and so forth. But not everybody wants to leave their assets to all their children equally. And so that's that. And they have no choice. If they haven't put it in writing, the state is presuming that you're making a logical decision, and they will leave your estate. If you're a widow or a single person, will go in equal shares to all of your children, whether that was your intention or not. So it's important to put what you need in writing.
Cool. Now, you keep talking about probate. What is probate, and why is it a good idea to avoid it? Why do you really need a trust rather than a will?
Well, kind of to recapitulate what we just talked about, a will merely tells the probate court what you want done with your assets. Without a will, the court will determine that. So the process is the same. The costs are the same. The length of time is the same. With a trust, you avoid all that. So if I have a trust, and when I die, one of my children will be my successor trustee, which is the person that executes my estate, and will distribute my assets according to the terms of my trust. There's no court involvement. It's all done privately. No one knows, what your assets are or any of your personal information other than the people that need to know.
Okay. So what this trust that you're talking about all the time, and I've had other people talk about trusts and estate planning on this show.
Uh-huh.
What does it involve to do it, to make a trust? How much is it? How much time does it take? Do I need an attorney to make a trust? I mean, how do I know what to do?
You don't need an attorney. You can work with someone like me. Some people will pull something off the internet. I mean, and there's that option as well. It's not a good option because most of those are not state specific and they're very generic and they're often awful. So I redo a lot of work that people have done prior, thinking they're going to save some money. Mm-hmm. And they do initially, but I've seen trusts where page 1 contradicts page 9, Mm-hmm. So a trust is the core document of an estate plan. So there are other documents that work with it, power of attorney, certification, you get the whole healthcare package. I charge for a single person $1,100. I take half the money up front and half when I sign. And for a married couple, I charge $1,500 because there's more work involved. That includes all the documents, all my notarization. It also includes putting your primary residence in the trust for that fee. If there are additional properties, then there's going to be an additional charge for that because deeds are time consuming.
Gosh, and I know because I've helped people with going through probates that court fees alone are more than that for going through the trust.
Yeah.
Much less the attorney fees and other fees for filing the documents and stuff, right?
Yeah. And attorneys are paid based on a statutory formula created by the state of California. So attorneys' fees are 4% of the first $100,000, 3% of the second, 2% of the third, and 1% of the fourth $100,000, and 1% basically the formula changes when you get very wealthy. So for a person with a house worth $400,000, their attorney's fees are going to be $10,000. Plus court costs are $435 per appearance, and there's 2 appearances. There's publication in a newspaper that can run anywhere from $150 to $400 based on your county. And then there's the referee, which is the state-appointed appraiser that will appraise your assets, and they charge 0.1% of the value of the estate they appraise. So if you have an $800,000 estate, their fee will be $800. So you wrap all that. Now I do probates for a flat fee. I do it for $3,600. And so if you take my fee plus all the hard costs, I tell a client it's going to be about $5,000 out the door. So you can pay $1,500 up front, or you can pay $5,000 later.
You know, and it's really important though that when you're doing your trust that you do consult somebody who knows the paperwork, because I have run into people many times who wrote a perfectly good trust but never titled any of the property into the trust.
Yeah,
it happens all the time, and then we got to go to court.
Think of it this
way.
way.
The judge will say, "Oh yes, they said they meant to do it, they didn't do it, so we'll do what's called, a Hegstat petition and go through it." And that costs more than it costs to have somebody help you with the trust. I mean, it's crazy.
So here's how I equate that. And I worked with a man who had a multi-million-dollar estate, older man, who set this trust up like in 1984 when he was a new widower, and he never funded it, nothing. And so now he's very elderly. So I got his daughter involved so she can help him do that. But when I explain it to a client, I say, okay, we've signed all these documents. You now have a trust. The last step is to put the assets in the trust. I can do that for you with your property because I do it with a deed. But I can't go to the bank and tell them to change title on your bank account. You have to do that. But I give you the tools and I give you the instruction so you know exactly what to do. So I equate it to buying a safe. If you buy yourself a big expensive safe and don't put anything in it, you've protected nothing. So you got to put it in the trust. Final step.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. So, hey, if anybody would like to speak to Jeannie, her phone number is down here below, 916-532-3373, or her email is jeannie@bmsch.com. And, so thank you so much for coming on and kind of giving people, another alternative, especially for modest estates. Seems like a really great way to get more help than you would from, LegalJet or whatever the online services are.
Thank you, Laurel.
And really a great and then if you find yourself where you've got a somebody passes away without a will or something else, you're a great option to talk to them about a modest estate. I think it's a great option. So please feel free. If you have any comments or any questions, please reach out to us. Laurel Buys Houses. We buy houses in any condition, and we help people through a lot of different situations. That's why we have great professionals like Jeannie on our Rolodex. And I really appreciate you coming out and kind of educating people as to LDAs and probates and trusts and estate planning.
Well, thank you for having me. And also thank you for the help you've given my clients when I needed your services. Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay. And again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to call us. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you again with another good topic and another great professional later in the month.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.